working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines: Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, at 94, the world's oldest leader, submitted his resignation to the king on Monday, his office said, after a bid by his political partners to bring down the government. Senior officials from ASEAN and New Zealand reiterated their commitment to redouble efforts towards strengthening the long-standing partnership in its 45th year of dialogue relations. The Iglesia Ni Cristo launches a cleanup drive in Malaysia. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, at 94, the world's oldest leader, submitted his resignation to the king on Monday, his office said, after a bid by his political partners to bring down the government. Mahathir's shock resignation comes amid rumors that he may form a new coalition without his designated successor, Anwar Ibrahim. Ruby Tinawin reports.
Malaysian Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has announced his resignation as Prime Minister today and has also reportedly resigned from his own party.
The shocking news came hours after a weekend of political turmoil that he may form a new coalition and new government without his promised successor, Anwar Ibrahim. His resignation as Prime Minister marked the second time in the nation's history. At the age of 94, Dr. Mahathir was not only the world's oldest Prime Minister, but also have the merit of being both Malaysia's longest-serving and shortest-serving Prime Minister. No further announcement was made as to who will be the next Prime Minister or whether general elections will be held anytime soon.
It's quite shocking. And I think nobody expected this to happen. We knew there would be some changes, but we didn't expect it to be a big change where the whole government will actually be moving over. And Dr. Mahathir's resignation, I think, has made a big impact with a lot of parties. Most of them are really unsure now of where we stand. Initially, we supported PKR to come in, and now we don't even know if there is another political party to support. Whether it's correct or not, I leave it up to the experts, but I think the timing is a bit dangerous because it also affected our economy, where it's quite bad, and also immediately impacted the ringgit. So it's quite a big impact. Thank you.
Hi, viewers in Philippines. I'm Shan here. In fact, Malaysians are quite upset and very sad about Dr. M's resignation, and this is quite unexpected, and we are not really sure how to handle the situation at this point of time. As public, we are still monitoring the situation, and we hope the crisis will come to end as soon as possible. You never know, anything can happen at this point of time, but we always hope for a better Malaysia. And of course, Dr. M has done a lot of work, and he has created a lot of welfare for the Malaysians as a whole. But without him, it's going to be quite tough for Malaysia to progress further. Although there are ups and downs, but he's really a good leader and statesman, and we hope that our current situation will be ended in a very fruitful and cordial manner. All right, and all the best, Malaysia. Thank you.
From my point of view as an expat who working in Malaysia, it's quite surprising that Mahathir resigned himself before he is out of term with his prime minister. And what my opinion about his resignation is, I think there will be a quite major change of the regulation and rules, and maybe it will affect for expats like me and my friends. I hope there will be a good rule and fair for us expats. That's all.
The public may have different sentiments and reactions, but it is hoped that Malaysia's political crisis can be resolved peacefully for the sake of the people and the country. Reporting from Subang Jaya, Malaysia, this is Ruby Tinawi, and I am one with 25.
Malaysia's leader in waiting, Anwar Ibrahim, meets with members of the press amid a bout of political uncertainty in the country that has seen the current Premier Mahathir Mohamad tender his resignation.
Keadilan, saya baru dari rumah Perdana Menteri Tun Dr. Mahathir bincang beberapa perkara. Dan saya puas hati dengan pendirian dia bahawa prinsip harus kita utamakan.
Alhamdulillah.
Agenda reform, kita jangan mudah tunduk kepada gerombolan yang mau mengkhianati amanah rakyat dalam pilihan raya yang lalu. Saya tidak boleh sebut lebih panjang pada ini. Memadai kita, saya jelas mereka itu mesyuarat yang sangat baik dan saya terkesan dengan sikap dan pendirian beliau tentang.
Thailand's government threatened legal action on Monday against a banned opposition party which claimed Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha aided in the cover-up of Malaysia's 1MDB graft scandal by harboring a fugitive financier. The stridently anti-military Future Forward Party, the third largest in parliament, was dissolved Friday by a court and its key members banned from politics for a decade. On Sunday, Future Forward spokeswoman Panika Wanich held a public conference and accused Prayut of allowing fugitive financier Low Tai Cho, commonly known as Joe Low, and his associates to pass through Thailand. Low is wanted by several governments for his alleged mastermind role in plundering billions of dollars from Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund 1MDB. A Thai government spokeswoman hit back on Monday at Panika, saying her accusations were not true. This accusation confuses the public, according to Rumun Pinyosinwat on Twitter, adding that he was concerned ministries are considering legal action and will hold a formal presser. Walking to Government House on Monday morning, ex-general turned Premier Prayut appeared jovial when he asked about Panika's accusations. He told reporters the ministries are investigating and if not true, they can sue. Since 2016, a red notice was issued by Interpol and Singapore's request to flag Low's travels. Countries receiving flagged individuals would typically inform requesting government about the fugitive's whereabouts, executing an extradition process. But Panika claimed that Thailand's immigration records showed Low passing through the country 5 times from 2016 to 2018. Filipinos in Singapore on Monday were urged to avoid crowded places and observe precautionary measures following the first confirmed case of coronavirus disease 2019 involving a Filipino national in the city-state. In an advisory, the Department of Foreign Affairs said all Filipinos in Singapore are likewise encouraged to continue to maintain vigilance, observe proper hygiene, avoid crowds or large gatherings, and frequently monitor personal health. Those who develop fever, cough, sore throat, and difficulty in breathing are advised to see a doctor immediately. The DFA said the Filipino who contracted COVID-19 is now isolated in one of Singapore's hospitals. DFA said the embassy is in close coordination with the Ministry of Health of Singapore and stands ready to provide all consular assistance to the patient as needed. In the meantime, everyone is requested to respect the patient's privacy. Singapore has the third highest cases of COVID-19 outside China. The agency also issued a similar advisory in South Korea after the country raised its disease alert to the highest level in response to the spike in COVID-19 deaths and infection. At present, there is no Filipino infected by the disease, as well as a travel ban imposed on South Korea. However, travelers are cautioned to delay non-essential travel to the country as a precaution. The latest data from the World Health Organization showed that as of Monday, there are 78,811 confirmed cases of the disease globally, of which 77,042 are from China, 893 from South Korea, 132 from Japan, and 81 are from Singapore. The death toll in China from the coronavirus outbreak has risen to 2,663, the country's National Health Commission said. The commission said 71 people have died in the past 24 hours, while 508 new cases were detected by health authorities. Dozens of Jakarta neighborhoods were flooded Tuesday after torrential rains pounded Indonesia's capital less than 2 months after nearly 70 people were killed in some of the megacity's worst flooding in years. There were no immediate reports of casualties after the latest deluge, but parts of the city ground to a halt as whole neighborhoods were swamped in muddy water while power outages hit some districts. At least 81 neighborhoods were inundated, with a dozen toll roads closed and some commuter train lines shuttered, according to an announcement by Indonesia's disaster mitigation agency. More torrential rains were expected later in the day. Floodwaters in some districts were as high as 127 centimeters or 4 feet. The low-lying city is prone to flooding during the wet season, which starts around November. Torrential rain in January triggered flooding and landslides that killed nearly 70 people in and around Jakarta, while thousands more were forced to evacuate to shelters.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back. Amid the global outbreak of the coronavirus, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said they're expecting slightly lower cash remittances from overseas Filipino workers this year. He also emphasized that the impact would be minimal. Let's listen in.
We also expect the outbreak to have a minimal effect or impact on OFW remittances. In terms of remittances, keep in mind that mainland China account for only 0.1% of total OFW remittances, while Macau and Hong Kong account for 0.4% and 2.7% respectively. In estimating the impact of COVID-19 on OFW cash remittances, the Department of Labor and Employment inputted the following assumption. First, full year 2020 growth rate assumption of overseas Filipino cash remittances of 3%. Number 2, full year 2020 cash remittances from China, including its special administrative regions, at 6.1%. And number 3, decline in the growth rate of cash remittances during the severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS episode. So based on these assumptions, we expect that the COVID-19 outbreak could dampen our total cash remittance growth in 2020 by 0.8 percentage points from 3.0% to 2.2%. In other words, while remittances from overseas Filipinos reached a record high of $33.5 billion last 2019, we were actually expecting this to increase to $34.5 billion in remittances this year, with a projected growth of 3%. But because of this COVID-19 epidemic, we have adjusted our growth projections to 2.2% and now expect $34.2 billion in remittances for 2020. Nevertheless, this shall still breach another record high in overseas Filipino remittances. DOLE also assures us that remittances from other source countries such as the US, UAE, and Saudi Arabia may help compensate for the possible slowdown in remittances coming from China, Macau, and Hong Kong. And we are encouraged by historical data that shows that Philippine remittances have been resilient even in the face of global downtrends.
Para sa Eagle News, Vic Somintak.
Citing information from the Department of Labor and Employment, he said remittances from other source countries such as the United States, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia might help compensate for the possible slowdown in remittances coming from China, Macau, and Hong Kong. In terms of remittances, China accounts for 0.1% of total OFW remittances, while Macau and Hong Kong account for 0.4% and 2.7% respectively. At the 27th ASEAN-New Zealand dialogue held in Siem Reap, Cambodia, senior officials from ASEAN and New Zealand reiterated their commitment to redouble efforts towards strengthening the long-standing partnership in its 45th year of dialogue relations. They noted the full implementation of the ASEAN-New Zealand Plan of Action 2016 to 2020 and looked forward to two important milestones this year. The ASEAN-New Zealand Leaders Summit to commemorate the 45th anniversary of their dialogue relations will take place in April. Meanwhile, the adoption of a new plan of action for the 2021 to 2025 period at the ASEAN Post-Ministerial Conference +1 session with New Zealand will be held this August. Noting the ongoing negotiation of the joint ASEAN-New Zealand leaders' vision statement and plan of action, the senior officials looked forward to the finalization of the documents, which would deepen strategic partnership towards the 50th anniversary of ASEAN-New Zealand relations in 2025. At the dialogue, senior officials had discussions on regional and international issues, as well as potential for enhancing cooperation in areas of mutual interest. Issues such as combating transnational crime, including countering terrorism and violent extremism, defense, maritime security, combating IUU fishing, good governance, trade and investment through the upgrade of the ASEAN-Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Area, sustainable development and climate change, disaster risk management, connectivity, and support towards the initiative for ASEAN integration were discussed. The meeting also noted ASEAN's collaborative efforts in addressing the 2019 coronavirus disease outbreak. ASEAN underscored the importance of its solidarity and the spirit of a cohesive and responsive ASEAN community in line with Vietnam's chairmanship theme in tackling the disease and similar challenges with its partners. Philippines' main stocks index fell more than 2% Monday, mainly due to reports about the continued rise of coronavirus disease 2019. But the peso was able to move sideways despite the risk of sentiment. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index shed 2.47% or 182.34 points to 7,187.44 points, which BPI research attributed to news about the spread of COVID-19, which continued to cloud global growth prospects. BPI research also cited the decline of IHS Markit's manufacturing PMI last February to 50.8 from month ago's 51.9. The consensus forecast for the index is 51.5. All other indices in the local bourse ended in the red, with the all shares contracting by 1.87% or 81.34 points to 4,265.42 points. Holding firms posted the highest drop at 2.67%, which was trailed by the financials 2.60%, property 2.38%, mining and oil 2.18%, industrial 2.02%, and services at 1.32%. Volume totaled to 1.42 billion shares, amounting to 4.64 billion pesos. Decliners led advancers at 147 to 44, while 46 shares were unchanged. On the other hand, the local currency ended the day at 50.96 from 50.94 Friday last week. It opened the day weaker at 50.98 compared to its 50.69 close in the previous session. It traded between 51.08 and 50.94, resulting in an average of 51.014. Volume totaled to 1.30 billion US dollars, lower than 1.37 billion US dollars at the end of last week. The peso is seen to trade between 50.75 and 51.05 against the US dollar on Tuesday. The Iglesia ni Cristo launches a cleanup drive in Malaysia. Ruby Tinawin with the details.
Members of the Iglesia ni Cristo in the District of Malaysia have been mobilized to participate in community cleanup drive held simultaneously in different parts of this country. Organized through the leadership of the district supervising minister, Brother Alan King Mercado, the voluntary event attracts the participation of both young and adult members of this religious organization. The community cleanup drive, also known to the locals as Gotong Royong, was participated by the church members from the local congregations of Kuala Lumpur, Subanjaya, Bangsar, Penang, Melaka, Vestarijaya, and Genting. Plastic containers, bottles, cigarette butts, and other biodegradable trash items were collected during the cleanup. This is yet another act of kindness of the Iglesia ni Cristo members in collaboration with the respective local municipal councils and authorities in those cities, who have also provided the volunteers cleaning tools and garbage bags during the cleanup. Mr. Ken Chia, councillor from Subangjaya Municipal Council, together with some of his constituents, have also participated in this activity. He thanked the Iglesia ni Cristo members for their continuous support and active role in helping the community and the local council. The said cleanup drive is part of the community social responsibility project of the Iglesia ni Cristo, whose aim is to create awareness on the importance of preserving and maintaining a cleaner and greener environment for the sake of the future generation. This is also aligned with one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal to create sustainable cities and communities. A small act of kindness shows that we care. By simply picking up trash, help reassure members of the community that they are cared for and that the place we live in are important to us. Reporting from Malaysia, this is Ruby Tinawin, and I am one with 25.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco, and I am one with 25.